I'll be damned, Marty muttered, smiling. Dad's a peeping Tom.
Book Marty, big into this are we? Not much else happens here on page 97 that you haven't seen in animated GIF form already. When Marty's hit, the driver yells,
"Crazy kids. They didn't give me a chance."
Then he gets out and says,
"Please, God. Let him be alright. I can't afford to be sued."
And it's kind of a joke I guess. But the movie version.
Stella! Another one of these damn kids jumped in front of my car!
Is better, so let's all remember that instead when we all look back on this moment, blog post in the years and decades and generations to come. Hey, that's it for chapter 5. Marty wakes up in bed and again we play movie versus book. Movie dialogue from the movie, extra book dialogue read by my mistress lady friend.
Mom? That you?
You're there now. Just relax.
I had a horrible nightmare. Dreamed that I went back in time.
Lorraine, in time for what? Marty tries to get up. Lorraine, take it easy now.
Been asleep for almost 9 hours.
Better not hop right out of bed. Better take it slowly.
It was terrible.
It was a terrible place to be. The music was awful. They didn't have Huey Lewis.
Reading note, ha ha ha, awesome.
Our neighborhood hadn't even been built yet, except for our house. Everything was so weird looking and the people acted so strange. Lorraine, I see. You dreamed you went back to another time. Marty, yeah. Lorraine, how far back? Marty, 30 years. Lorraine, all the way to the Flapper days? That must have been interesting. But there's no need to worry.
Safe and sound now, back
where you belong.
in good old 1955.
As a man who loves flappers, I love flappers this much, tons. The idea of a time travel adventure to the Flapper days is right up my alley, and I can only speculate that if this line had been in the movie when I saw it as a kid, things with my personal development might have turned out exactly the same. Oh well. Marty's mum introduces herself and Marty decides to be a time travel dick again by interrupting her so that he gets to say her last name, and when she asks how he knows, he just shrugs and says,
"As to get around."
Hey, remember that cute scene where she keeps calling him Calvin and he asks her why and she says,
That is your name, isn't it? Calvin Klein? It's written all over your underwear.
That's in the book. And then remember how Marty rolls with it and says,
No, actually, people call me Marty.
and she says,
Pleased to meet you, Calvin. Marty. Klein.
and how Marty's bad names like Calvin Klein and Clint Eastwood are a running gag that continues throughout the sequels. Forget it.
Oh, Marty replied. That isn't my name. Calvin Klein is the name of the underwear manufacturer.
Thud. Anyway, we don't get the loaded line where Marty asks where his pants are and Lorraine says,
Over there, on my hope chest.
but we do get the bit where Lorraine rubs her hand through Marty's hair under the pretense of touching his bruise, and Marty scoots back until he falls on the floor and makes a big crash that alerts the rest of the house that he's awake. Only instead of Lorraine freaking out that her parents heard and telling Marty to put his pants back on and sneaking out of the room so her parents don't catch her, Lorraine just
Giggles naughtily.
Why hello yourself, Lorraine. Page 103 to 105. So Marty and Lorraine go down to dinner, but since Marty's not wearing his puffy jacket, Lorraine's parents can't ask him how long he's been in port. So instead they look at his green shoes and ask him how long he's been in the circus. Because he's a sideshow. Because green shoes? But we do get some sweet payoff because we're like halfway through the book and Gipe has finally described what Marty's wearing. All he's covered so far is his shoes, but it turns out he's not topless after all. Sorry everyone, but your Marty topless in the past PWP fanfics are now non-canon. Marty smiled and shrugged. The green shoes and shirt with US Patent Office facsimile probably did seem unusual to people of 1955. Rather than explain that these clothes were normal wearing apparel of the 80s, he said,
I guess I just like strange clothes, Mom. Sorry.
Don't apologize for who you are, man. In the movie he left his US Patent Office facsimile shirt in his closet, so I guess we all missed out. And while there's a chance this patent book Marty's wearing is from before 1955, there's also a good chance that Marty was running around literally advertising to everyone who merely glances at him how to create a novel invention ahead of its time, which is nice. I think that's kind of crazy/neat. It fits in more with the original ending though, where Marty makes it back to 1985 and the world is crazy advanced with flying cars everywhere and time travel is outlawed and it's crazy all the time. The scene proceeds much like in the movie, only when Marty sees young Uncle Jailbird Joey in his crib, instead of thinking,
Better get used to these bars, kid.
he just thinks it and instead just says,
He seems to enjoy being in there.
The book notes he is being mildly sarcastic. But whatever, because baby Joey is described as
salivating wildly,
which I kind of love and I hope to one day earn that description for myself. Dinner is served, meatloaf again, and Marty realizes it's the exact same meal he ate in 1985. Oh ho meatloaf, that sure is a meal item. That is an easy punchline. And the page ends with the food being eaten. Only the way Gipe chose to communicate this is by saying simply that the meal was served and then everybody pitched in like it's a barn raising or something, I guess. Anyway, I have decided that this book is a great way to experience what it's like to learn English as a second language. You think you're doing fine and understand what's going on, but then hey surprise, here's another crazy whack saying whose literal meaning is almost entirely divorced from what it's supposed to mean, and it makes you despair that even if you should live 1,000 years you'll never fully understand something as crazy and inconsistent and full of verbal irregularities as the English language. Wait, no, George Gipe's writing.